Hi, I'm Jepp Jepperson, and about 10 minutes ago, I finished eating a Dairy Queen dilly bar, and I'd like to welcome you to my video education series titled How To with Jepp Jeppison. That's me, Jepp. This segment will teach you how to maximize your observational injury acuity. First, we need to begin by understanding a few concepts. The Pain Gradation Scale. The Pain Gradation Scale illustrates the comprehensive gamut of all possible bodily injuries, ranging from very simple bonks down to serious right-next-to-death incidents. Within this gradation scale, there is another range of what we will heretofore call the safe zone of laughability. This safe zone, as implies, defines a safe range of injury with which, when observed, simply put, is funny. Categorizations of incidents. With an understanding of the pain gradation scale and the safe zone of laughability, we will explore in concept and examples three basic categorizations of incidents. Personal versus public. The first category, personal versus public, deals with locus of control. Personal types are incidents that are under the control of the subject, whereas public types are those of which involve someone outside of their locus of control. Examples of personal type injuries would include a bonk of the funny bone, a simple stumble, a bump to the head. You will notice locus of control is maintained by the person involved. In other words, the incidents were caused by the person themselves. Examples of public incidents would include a thrown softball to the head, a courtesy-assisted water blast up the nose, a hot dog roaster to the cheek. Notice the locus of control was out of the hands of the victim, or in other words, the incident was caused by another person. Single versus multiple. Single type incidents are those which result from a singular pain source, whereas multiple type incidents refer to just that, multiple simultaneous pain sources. Potential incidents. A third category of such are not actual incidents, but are instead the observation of a potential incident. Consider the concept of potential energy. A rock sitting atop of a hill is a representation of potential energy. If pushed, the stored energy would then be converted to motion. In similar light, an example of potential incident would include the misplacement of a standard fishing pole. As an observer, you are not witnessing an actual incident, but instead are provided opportunity of witnessing the potential of a personal type, single type incident. Maximizing observational injury acuity. Now that we have categorized the basic types of incidents, we have arrived at the appropriate point of context for the intended concept of education: learning how to maximize your observational injury acuity. We will now study the categorized flavors of incidents you will surely encounter. Let us examine each and consider applicable examples. Number of public witnesses. As implied, the level of humorous implication of the incident increases in proportion to the number of public witnesses present for enjoyment. The more the people, the greater the humiliation. Consider the following example of a group of workers assisting with a house move. While descending the front porch step, one subject misjudges his foot placement, a standard incident. Increased humor is gained by observing his trying to walk it off coping mechanism due to realization of the presence of fellow acquaintances and the increasing number of spectators. Ripple effect incidents. Our next point of context refers to being an eyewitness to a domino or ripple effect of single or multiple type incidents. Engaging in the endeavor of a highly tedious task under the hood of an automobile provides an ideal environment for such context. In order to complete the task, the subject wielding a standard crescent wrench has concluded he is required to contort his hand in a only one possible placement position. With only achieving a mere quarter turn of bolt per flip of crescent wrench, the subject's mental focus has completely zeroed into singular concentration. With the subject now at heightened condition for incident potential, the crescent wrench unrealizingly slips from the bolt, causing a finger knuckle jab into a sharp edge. The subject's arm instinctively retreats from the pain, forcing his elbow into the interior sidewall. With 2 single-type incident pain points now in progress, his body's upper torso signals a retreat upward, elevating the subject's head into the underside of the car hood. A final retreat of pain is ordered, triggering the subject to embellish the incident with a knee to the bumper. New incident, Old Bodily Locale. In a similar light, but not equivalent to the ripple effect type incident, more context needs to be understood within the area of the Old Bodily Locale type categorization. This refers to an injury to a part of a person's body that has been recently injured before the presently occurring incident. The result is an instantaneous, not ripple-caused, but multiple type injury in the same bodily locale, in that the new and old injury are being experienced simultaneously. Consider the following subject with a previously injured arm carrying his toddler down the stairs. With a slight moment of unbalance, the subject's mind instantaneously assesses all possible available resources for evasive reaction and concludes that the previously injured arm is its only valid candidate of apparatus for assistance to incur the least path of resistance pain accrual. Ricochet of focus. This categorizational point has context in direct correlation with the current attitude and focus of the subject. An example of such is when the subject is attempting to tell a very non-humorous story or joke. At this point, you might be laughing about the fact that the subject is creating this awkward condition. While in the process of doing so, conditions massively sway as the focus of humor is swiftly shifted from one point of reference to another by reason of an injury incident. Peak to peak. This contextual point also has direct correlation with the attitude of the subject and is very similar to ricochet of focus, but does have a unique point of differentiation. The concept is simple. The principle occurs when the subject's temperament begins at a peak extreme emotional state, but swiftly shifts to an extreme peak of pain. Consider this subject being overbearing in his expression of his political views. In his heightened state of rage, the subject is immediately tempered due to a sudden painful incident. Reactive feat required exceeds typical physical ability. This condition occurs when the subject's reactive bodily instinct is to perform an avoidance maneuver requiring an amount of physical activity beyond the scope of their typical ability. This subject, if asked to use the Harris-Benedict equation to calculate his daily energy expenditure of calories, when considering the physical activity level requirement, would certainly find himself selecting the sedentary option. Now just arriving to the barbecue and having agreed to provide a cooler of beverages, the subject catches himself off balance while descending the stairs off the back deck. Instead of presenting his friends with his pre-planned wit-filled comment at arrival, the subject, at his expense, is providing a much richer display of humor, performing a feat well beyond his typical ability to his fellow associates. Awareness of out-of-character-like reaction. Similar to the previous point, this concept entails having an awareness that the incident occurring and its subsequent requirements, in effort to avoid more severe consequences, requires the subject to act outside of their normal character and/or demeanor. Long-term, mutually respected business colleagues, just having co-aligned their thoughts for an upcoming key strategy meeting, now realize a sway of focus from departing conversation as one finds himself dangerously miscalculating his footing near a staircase. This associate is one of the most honorably respected gentlemen around his office, known for his keen insights and well-tempered demeanor, but is now violently, circularly flailing his arms about, performing a very much out-of-character, flamboyant potential incident. Previously understood unique personal characteristic. Your memory plays a key role in this area of characterization. In order to effectively use this technique, it requires that you recall a unique characteristic you mentally may carry about the subject and review this characteristic in your mind simultaneous with the execution of the incident. For example, you may know a subject where, while the subject is saying the word refrigerator, or more precisely while saying the fridger portion of the word, the shape of the subject's mouth reminds you of a creamsicle. So the simultaneous awareness of this unique characteristic and the witnessing of the incident itself will surely heighten the actual experience. Instantaneous realization of additional complementary details. This method requires that at the exact moment an incident occurs, you perform a mental zoom on a visually unique attribute about the subject. For example, the following subject is experiencing a high amount of mental diversion by having received an important phone call. A combination of feeling the urgency of getting the telephone handset into the right hands and the position of the sun against the sliding screen door has caused the subject to lose effective attention to the fact that the screen door is actually closed. As a result, the subject finds himself barging through the flimsy screen door. This type of incident by nature could easily divert you from gaining a higher level of humorous potential. The key is to perform a mental zoom as you observe that the subject's seam of his pants is actually parallel to and not congruent to his rear contour line. Previous situational knowledge. This contextual point is somewhat similar to the previous perspective, but deviates in nature. This incident type requires having some unique previous knowledge about the subject involved. When this type of incident is presented, the idea is to recall this previously known information about the subject during its performance. Consider the following example. Here, the subject engaged in phone conversation is speaking to a somewhat distant acquaintance which has failed to round up enough participants for and is now socially bullying the subject into a not so well planned turkey bowl game. Now on the field, the subject is quickly deepening his emotional buildup of regret for the agreed participation and lack of backbone to say no. His physical body now incurring a greater than average amount of gameplay injuries. Although a fair amount of existing context is present, there is actually further previous situational knowledge about this individual readily available when strategically recalled. In this instance, the previous situational knowledge includes had to circumstantially file an amendment to his tax return this year, snapped the pull rope off his lawnmower yesterday, flipped the bill for a rebuilt transmission to his vehicle last week, was recently asked to improve his professional work wardrobe, was recently diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, Just like any other well-developed ability, this skill requires repeated effort. Watching injuries is an everyday part of our lives. Either you can be the horse who is led to water and refuses to drink, or you can drink water like a horse who has been led to the water as the horse drinks the water and refuses to be the horse drinking water. I'm confident that as you consistently incorporate these contextual points, your efforts will prove fruitful. I'm Jepp Jepperson, wishing you success. It's been my pleasure bringing you pleasure, thanking you for helping us help you to maximize your observational injury acuity. So long.